and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. My name is Dan, and today we are going down the line of artificial intelligence because, as you can probably tell by now, content creators are not having the best time in FPL this season. So let's give up on content creators and instead default to the robot. The robots know everything. They have no biases, they have no preconceptions, they just do their thing. So that's what we're going to do today, guys. We're going to make a AI team that's going to be the best team that you can possibly have for the next 2 game weeks before the World Cup, according to artificial intelligence. And then we're going to have a look at the highest predicted scores for game week 15 as well. So hopefully loads of relevant things in here. There's a few rogue shouts from the AI that the AI has made in terms of their predictions. And hopefully you're just going to find this pretty interesting. So if you do, please do leave a like. Please do subscribe if you're new around here. Notification bell on as well, because apparently the videos are not hitting recommended or something like that. So if you don't want to miss content, notification bell if you fancy it. But there we go, guys. Let's get on with it. Okay, so first of all, let's build a team, the best possible team pretty much for the next 2 game weeks, according to the artificial intelligence points predictors. Of course, everything here has been provided by Fantasy Football Hub very kindly. If you want to go check them out, I have left a link to their website in the description for you guys to go peruse at your own leisure. But let's go through the whole team. We're in a 3-4-3 formation. Let's start off in goal with Jordan Pickford. So yeah, Pickford is actually the preferred goalkeeper for the next 2 game weeks. We've got Leicester and Bournemouth, obviously 2 teams that don't score too many goals, particularly recently. So 3.9 expected points against Leicester, and then 3.7 predicted points against Bournemouth. So pretty much almost maybe, like a 40% chance of a clean sheet in each game, and maybe the chance of some save points as well there. Overall, that's pretty good for a 4.5 million goalkeeper. You kind of like that. Moving on into defense, we've got Cancelo. So this is not one of the surprising ones. We have got a few surprising ones in here, but Cancelo, no doubt about that. So decent predicted points over the next couple of game weeks. We know that we really like the final 2 games for City before the World Cup. We are definitely going to want to be tripled up on Man City, and this team is no different. It's just a case of which Man City players you go for, but Cancelo is in this one. 6.6 predicted points against Fulham, so pretty much a clean sheet or a goal return, all but guaranteed, you'd say. This is obviously the average predicted points, so it's not necessarily saying that, Cancelo will get 6.6 points, but if you ran the scenario of this game over and over and over again, you'll probably see Cancelo average out about 6.6 points. So that's kind of how the algorithm predicts that kind of thing. And then 6 points predicted against Brentford, so slightly more difficult, but 2 real opportunities for some nice scores. You'd be very, very happy with those kind of scores. 6.6 this week, 6 the next week. You'd be happy with that, I think. Next up, we've got Trippier, who has actually got slightly lower predicted points than you might expect. So he's not actually one of the algorithm's favourite players for the final 2 games. And I have to say, the algorithm likes Newcastle players a little bit, but not quite as much as maybe we're hyping them up. So Southampton, 4.2 predicted points in that game, which is pretty decent. It's okay. It's plenty to be getting on with. But I think with Trippier, with his current form, you kind of think maybe you'll get a bit more. And then 3.7 against Chelsea, which is kind of meh in a way, but you can kind of understand that. Chelsea is not going to be the easiest game in the world for Newcastle, is it? And finally, in defence, guys, this is where things get a little bit weird, but bear with me. We've got Serge Aurier. So remember, guys, the artificial intelligence has no biases. It has no preconceptions. It has no idea of Aurier, that's so random. It's just predicting who's going to score the most points. And in terms of 4.5 million defenders, Serge Aurier is the one to go for, apparently. 4 predicted points against Brentford, 3.9 predicted points against Crystal Palace. Obviously, Nottingham Forest have at times shown themselves to be okay defensively, particularly when Jordan Henderson is having a good game. And, these fullbacks are playing in advanced positions, making crosses, taking shots, making passes. They're actually okay in many ways. And these 2 fixtures, they're against 2 teams that perhaps are going to struggle. Particularly this Brentford team without a Tony. Is a Tony-less Brentford potentially less likely to score against Nottingham Forest? You'd probably say so, wouldn't you? And Crystal Palace, obviously, been struggling a little bit for goals as well. Both of these games are at home. So if you're looking for that 4.5 million defender who you think you just want to go for someone, you're not sure who to go for, you're probably speaking about Dalot. You're probably speaking about maybe an Everton defender. You were probably maybe considering a Newcastle defender, maybe a West Ham defender. You probably weren't considering Serge Aurier, but in the kind of fashion of FPL this season, it has been at times players who are seen as random players actually performing very well. And if you consider Aurier a random player, then I guess in this FPL season, that's a good thing, right? So there you go. There's a little bit of advice for you, maybe a little bit of nugget of information, and I would be really interested to see if any of you guys are brave enough to back the algorithm on this Aurier shout, because it really is super, super differential. Let's move into midfield, guys. We've got Salah. Salah is kind of a mainstay in these algorithm teams because Salah, his history of points is just so good. His underlying stats are really, really good as well. So we're always going to see Salah in these teams pretty much, even if it's a difficult game against Spurs. 5.6 predicted points, but 8.3 predicted points in that Southampton game is a little bit nicer. And you know, the algorithm, again, I know a lot of people are like, Salah is in bad form, this is not the Salah we know and love. There's no biases here, there's no personal opinions, there's no emotion to this team. So what this team is looking at is who's got the best stats right now, who has got the best history right now, you know, who is showing the signs that they can get some FPL points, and Salah makes the cut, so he's in this team. And next up, we've got De Bruyne. So 9.1 predicted points for De Bruyne against Fulham, which you probably agree is pretty significant. 7.9 predicted points against Brentford as well. So these are really, really good numbers indeed. So maybe De Bruyne is the player to go for this game week. He has got like the best predicted points of anyone pretty much in this team. There's only one player who's got slightly better predicted points over the next two games, I guess, and it's not De Bruyne, but De Bruyne is a close second, you know. So yeah, we like this pick a lot. I don't think I'll have to convince you guys too much that De Bruyne is a very good pick for this game week and next. Brentford are obviously pretty weak in defence as well, so you know, both of these games are going to present ample opportunity for those Man City attackers to get some FPL points, so you can understand why he is in this team. This is where we get a little bit rogue again, so please bear with me. And remember, this is not me picking these players. It is the artificial intelligence. It is the robots. It is Skynet, and they've chosen Demarai Gray, which is interesting. I guess because of this team, the amount of money it's spent on some of these players, they have to cut some corners somewhere with trying to get some cheap players in there so we don't exceed that 100 million budget. And maybe you guys would be looking to spend a little bit more money, but if you're looking for a cheap midfielder, Demarai Gray has 4.5 predicted points in that home game against Leicester and 4.2 predicted points against Bournemouth. Now, I know Gray has not been scoring too many FPL points recently, but a quick glance at his underlying stats suggests that actually he's probably due a few points. Like, you know, he's been taking a lot of shots on, he's been creating a lot. You know, maybe he's been a little bit unlucky. Looking at the stats alone, it looks like he's been a little bit unlucky not to get more points. So the artificial intelligence is predicting that if Gray continues to get the amount of points, you know, the amount of chances to score, creating the amount of chances that he has been doing so far this season against teams like Leicester and Bournemouth, then that's going to look pretty good. Now, the one thing I disagree with the artificial intelligence is the Leicester game being an easy fixture, because I think something that is kind of, you have to be kind of nuanced with the artificial intelligence, because sometimes it doesn't quite calculate things as quickly as a human might do in terms of the form of a team. So Leicester, for example, earlier on in this season, they were just posting absolutely tragic defensive numbers, but they have completely turned it around over the past 5 game weeks or so. So actually, in a very short sample size, and the artificial intelligence doesn't really like small sample sizes. In a small sample size, Leicester have actually been kind of tough. So I am actually expecting Leicester to keep a clean sheet in this game, but still, you know, maybe there's a chance there for Gray to get something, but I think that may be a slight overestimation, but I'm not the one to kind of criticize the artificial intelligence. This is just what it does. I'm letting it do it. I'm letting it do its thing. I'm not going to try and hide the fact that it's sometimes picks some questionable players, right? And speaking of, Thomas Soucek. So Thomas Soucek is the final player in this midfield. Again, you're going to say this is so random, these players are so random, but I bring you back to the earlier point. Who has been scoring FPL points recently? Really random players that previously we had all written off entirely. Who predicted Kiefer Moore would score 2 goals against Spurs last game week? No one predicted that. Not a single person predicted that. So, that's a random player. These are random players. Hey, you never know. Soucek actually does have a decent history, to be fair, of scoring goals and getting the odd assist as well. A couple of years ago for West Ham, he was doing really well in that regard. And again, when I saw Soucek selected in this artificial intelligence team, I went and had a look at the underlying numbers. And again, Soucek's underlying numbers are pretty good. He's taken a decent amount of shots this season. I think he's taken almost 20 shots so far this season, which is, you know, over a shot per game, which is very nice. Creating chances as well as creating, you know, maybe a chance per game as well. And his expected goals and his expected assists aren't actually too bad. He's actually got 2 attacking returns so far this season. And looking at these next 2 fixtures, Crystal Palace, Leicester again, which again, the artificial intelligence seems to want to target Leicester, which is the questionable thing here, but I wanted to show you anyway. If these home games are going to provide any goals for West Ham, which is, again, is maybe a little bit ambitious, then Soucek actually looks like one of the players more likely to be involved. Obviously, we're going to have Skamaka, obviously, we're going to have Jared Bowen, but after that, where do we go in terms of attackers? And if you're looking for that cheap midfielder, maybe Soucek is going to provide that answer. Now, let's go to the forwards positions, guy, where things get a little bit more predictable. So, up front, we've got Erling Haaland. So, even though he is an injury doubt, the AI is still predicting him to get maybe 8.5 points. Now, that could be, that could go any way, really. And like I say, 8.5 is the average. If he doesn't start, then maybe he gets 1 point. If he does start, maybe he gets, 18, 19 points again, a hat trick, So, look, it's a real high upside for Haaland, really high upside, but also probably a quite low downside as well, particularly if he just gets a few minutes off the bench, 10 minutes off the bench. Although saying that, would you doubt Haaland to get something in 10 minutes versus a tired Fulham? You'd expect him to maybe give it a go, right? And 9.4 predicted points against Brentford when he is going to be, fingers crossed, it looks like he is going to be fully fit for that Brentford game. So the current news is that Haaland is training. So he trained yesterday. He's trained again today. Pep Guardiola is going to make a decision on that tomorrow or this afternoon perhaps. And Haaland is, he's going to want to play. He's got no World Cup to stay fit for. He's going to want to break these records in the Premier League. He's going to want to break these goal scoring records. He's going to want to play in this game. So there's a good chance of him playing in this Fulham game. He will almost certainly play in that Brentford game. And he's got very high predicted points for that game as well. So definitely a player to keep and a player to own in my opinion, and in the artificial intelligence opinion. So you can doubt me all you like, but you can't argue with a robot. It just doesn't work. Wilson up next. So again, not really too surprising here. Southampton, decent predicted score. Chelsea, not so much of a decent predicted score, but 5.7 points for this game week. You would take something around that mark. You'd take 6 points. I think maybe you'd hope for a little bit more, 7 or 8, but hey, 6 points, that'd be pretty decent, right? So yeah, Wilson is in this team as well. No surprises. And finally, we're going to finish off with Solanke. So kind of a cheap forward, but some decent potential points here. 4.2 predicted against Leeds, 4.3 predicted against Everton. These are not super numbers, but for the price that you pay for Solanke, you can't really expect too much. It's sort of a 5.7 million. So cheap forward with actually a little bit of potential to score some points in these slightly easier games there. So that is what the artificial intelligence has come up with for a first 11. We'll have a look at the bench quickly. We've got Ward on there, obviously a decent backup goalkeeper. Patterson, capable of getting a point or two, a really decent backup for the real cheap price that he is. Bueno for Wolves, he's coming into form. And Colback, a 4.2 million midfielder. So if you don't want to go too expensive on that midfield, the final bench position, and to be fair, if you're relying on your third bench option at this point, then you're probably a little bit mudded. So you're probably not going to need that player. So Colback at 4.2, the cheapest midfielder on the game, perfect for going on your bench there if you are making wholesale changes and you want to save a little bit of money. So there you go, that's the team, guys. It's rated at 98%. We're going to slap the captain's armband on De Bruyne because he has the highest predicted points for this game week at 9.1. Second highest predicted points is Haaland, so vice captain by default goes on him. That's just how this works. And speaking of highest predicted points for game week 15, let's have a little look at those. So let's whiz through these, guys. So highest predicted points for this game week. De Bruyne has got 9.1 predicted points. He's predicted to play 86 minutes as well by the artificial intelligence. Haaland is predicted to play 66 minutes on average. So you would imagine that if he is available, maybe he doesn't play the whole game. Maybe he gets to 70 minutes, 75 minutes. If he doesn't play at all, maybe he gets 20 minutes at the end of the game or something like that. It averages out basically according to the maths of the robots at 66 predicted minutes, but 8.5 predicted points there as well. Foden is up there third with 7.3 predicted points. He's predicted 75 minutes in this game as well. More Man City players. So the top 5 predicted points are actually all Man City players. So we've got Cancelo there, Bernardo there. Now a few people have asked me about maybe going for Bernardo as an alternative to some of the more rotation risk Man City players. So that is an option there as well. 6.1 predicted points. Cancelo 6.6. So maybe Cancelo is because you're pretty confident about his minutes, 88 predicted minutes. That's pretty good, right? Maybe he's a good backup vice captain or something like that to go for. Wilson there, 5.7 predicted points. Salah, 5.6. And then we've got Kane and Calvert-Lewin both on 5.4 predicted points. So Calvert-Lewin, outside kind of punt for a forward. Maybe if you fancy it this game week, it's an option, I suppose. So yeah, there we go, guys. There are the game week 15 AI predictions for the highest scoring players in FPL. And that's going to be the end of the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Really do appreciate you guys. Make sure you leave a like if you did enjoy this video. Make sure you subscribe. And hopefully I'll see a few of you guys in the deadline stream tomorrow morning where we'll, fingers crossed, praying that we'll get some early team news. I really hope we do. I guess we'll see. But there we go, guys. That's it from me today. Thank you once again for watching, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.